we doing? Excellent. Just a reminder that there's been some schedule changes. Robert Steele's going to be in here tonight at midnight rather than next door. The tract in the other rooms is an hour behind at the moment, so please keep that in mind if you're trying to catch that. Make sure you check out everything that's going on the mezzanine level. Make sure that you sign the petition to keep this hotel from getting knocked down, because God knows where we'll hold a conference if they knock this building down. So please sign that petition. There's one out here where they're selling the 2,600 T-shirts, and there's one down at registration. So the more people that we get to save this historical institution, the better. If you've missed any discussions, you can pick them up on DVD right out here. They have them within minutes. They've got this magical pirate machine that just stamps them out. It's super awesome. So you can pick those up and take those home. This gentleman has spoken at every Hope conference since it began in 1994. He's a private investigator, and his discussions are always riveting. He's done a lot of interesting things, including hunting down Nazi war criminals in the United States and Canada, because we know the Nazis love Canada because of the weed's awesome there. It really is. So on that note, Steve Rombaum with Privacy is Dead, Get Over It.
I apologize, I'm going to have to use this apparently today. Can you all hear me? In the back? Louder? We're screwed here. How about now? Okay. I am Steve Rombaum. I will be your substitute teacher for the next 3 hours. Just a quick show of hands. I need to know how to orient this. How many people have heard this talk either at a Hope or online? Holy crap. Okay, well, I thought it was going to be much less. You're going to be annoyed about 30% of the time. About 30% of this stuff is the basic stuff that is in fact necessary to say what? I have 2 rules. Turn off your cell phone, no heckling. Other than that, we'll be fine. This is going to take about 2.5 hours. This is normally an 8-hour seminar. So I'm going to do it like a speed freak. I would very much appreciate no interruptions, following which there's going to be a half-an-hour Q&A. I have 3 very impressive people with me today. I'll introduce them before the Q&A, and we will jointly answer your questions. This is Privacy is Dead, Get Over It. With any starting point, it is possible to build a complete dossier on someone. Doesn't matter what it is, a social security number, a MAC address, an email address, a license plate. From that information, it's possible to discover everything about someone. Sometimes you can only link one piece of information to another. Sometimes you can grab things wholesale. Now, in the past, can I help you?
Try to keep the aisles clear.
Okay. Before we continue, I'd like to emphasize one thing. Everything that we're going to be discussing today is open source or semi-open source. By semi-open source, I mean available to investigators, available to security professionals, probably available to half or more of the people in this room. We're not going to discuss FinCEN, we're not going to discuss NCIC, we're not going to discuss any governmental databases or anything that is by definition exclusive or closed. We are going to discuss what is available easily and quickly on everyone in this room. Primarily, we're going to be discussing the information that you yourself contribute. The vast majority of the information that's available out there today is information that you gave up, either knowingly or unknowingly. You surrendered that information. Your name, your address, your phone number, your date of birth, your social security number, your photo, which once upon a time was the holy grail of investigation. When I started out as an investigator, I would be paid $500 or $1,000 to get somebody's photo so he could be ID'd. Today, all you need is to Google somebody. Information like sexual orientation, politics, finances, activities, business relationships, friends, family, all of that is open source these days. When I started out almost 25 years ago, this was confidential information that you had to hire an investigator for. This is how it used to work. And a lot of what we're going to be discussing today is going to be how much things have changed. Not just how much things have changed since I first started speaking at Hope, but how much they've changed in the past few years. As an investigator, for example, somebody would give me a telephone number. From that telephone number, I would get the name and address. Everybody here knows how to pull a CNA. From there, I'd get date of birth and social security number. From there, addresses, family, place of employment, businesses, real property, marriages, divorces, everything that's public records, criminal records, civil records, other semi-public records of public records, driver's licenses, motor vehicles, and so on and so on. All of that starting out with one piece of information. Maybe not a telephone number, but an email address, a name and a date of birth. That's how it used to be. You would take an end of a string, you'd start pulling, and by the time you were done, you would have a complete dossier on someone. And by the way, I mean, there's much, much more. I ran out of space on the page. Today, not necessary. Today, you start with a telephone number, you plug in a telephone number, and you immediately get a comprehensive report or a combo report or whatever it's called on the system that you're using. I plug in your phone number, and I immediately have your name, address, social security number, date of birth, driver's license, motor vehicles, family, residence history, employment history, and so on and so on. It's no longer necessary to do it piecemeal. Everything is cross-referenced. Everything is available in one glob. I think I went too far. There we go. Sorry about that. Let's talk about what's changed in the past few years. Now, this says what's changed in the past 10 years. Frankly, let's talk about what's changed since the last Hope. First of all, computing power and speed. When I started out, I had a Mac with a 128K floppy disk. I had to put in the program, pop it out, save the data, put in the program, pop it out. I mean, now you have 4 processors, 8, quad core, whatever. Speed is unbelievable. Storage is unbelievable. I routinely buy more RAM than I had in a hard drive. I'm glad to see that people in the front few rows are approximately my age. Sometimes I talk about this to trainees, people in their early 20s who are becoming detectives, becoming federal agents. And a lot of this is like talking about the Stone Age. Storage power, processing power, exponential increases. Department of Homeland Security, who I understand dropped by yesterday, they save 75 years now of entry and exit in the US. They will never throw anything away ever again. Everything is now digital from the get-go. Everything is now digital from the point of inception. Your medical record, keyed in at the nurse's desk. Your travel, it's not a paper handwritten ticket anymore. Your credit card records, immediately. I can do a charge over the phone, log on to my Visa account, and see the charge within 30 seconds. Everything is immediately digital, and it goes into the databases just as quickly. No keying time, more important, because this is all about money, as you're going to see, no keying costs. Your information is digital from point 0, and it's in the databases immediately. Let's talk about old stuff. OCR sucks in everything. Google Books, newspapers. Documents from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years ago are fed into high-speed sheet reading scanners. An entire book can be done in an hour, and pretty accurately. Cell phones. We're going to talk a lot about cell phones today. Cell phones are one of the three big game changers we're going to talk about. Everybody here carries a cell phone. Everybody here, without me checking, carries a smartphone. Very few people don't. Because you carry these items and you use these items and you never turn them off, or you can't turn them off, I know everything there is to know about you. And we're going to cover this in great detail. Cell phones are a huge game changer. Routine cross-referencing, name translation, similars, artificial intelligence scripts. It's not just, here's an address history database, here's a telephone history database, here's a purchasing history database. Immediately, these things are cross-referenced and linked by every possible link. I can put in your phone number and have your credit card charges for the next month, for the last month rather. I can put in your phone number, next month would be cooler, I know. I can put in your telephone number, and from your telephone number, have all of your email addresses. And that's unheard of. That was unheard of a year ago. I can put in your email address and have your name, your address, your telephone number, and all of that. Now, by the way, just let me digress and say one thing. Last year, after the talk, we hung out in the room and spoke, and unfortunately screwed the following speaker. He got about 5 minutes instead of 1 hour. We are going to finish on time today, I hope, but more important than that, Emmanuel and the crew have given us a table. We are going to leave here, go to a table. One of the things that we're going to do, other than answer any follow-up questions that we didn't have time for during the Q&A, is I'm going to let anybody who wants to come over and play with all of our investigative databases. Not just the stuff, oh yeah. Listen, as I'm going to be discussing in great detail over the next couple hours, I'm a great believer in openness. I'm a great believer in PI FOIA. There is nothing that I do that I'm ashamed of. I think that I make the world a better place, a more just place. I know these folks here do. It's not like you see on TV, peeping in keyholes and all of that. And I want you guys to know and understand what we do. As far as cross-referencing and mashups and all of that, let me give you one ridiculous example. I call this CompStat for drunks. There's something in DC called Stumble Safely. A guy took the entire past couple of years of crime reports, and he took the list of all the bars in the downtown area of DC, and he just put them together. Took him about one evening of programming, and he put up a thing called Stumble Safely. You can check a bar and see how many muggings in the area, how many robberies, how many assaults, how many shootings. You can determine, is that a safe place to get drunk? Now, for me, this is a hilarious thing. You can check it out, stumblesafely.com. This sort of thing, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, would have required a skilled programmer, would have required massive outlays for data. A trained monkey can do this now. And I know, because some of them work for me. No, just kidding. What else has changed? GPS and the ability to track you. Listen, your cell phone is glued to your ass 24/7. Because your cell phone is with you, I know where you are. And we're going to go into that in great detail. GPS, Skyhook, people going around, Google Skyhook going around and mapping every Wi-Fi node in North America, every single node. Creation of new searching and new indexing, including translation, including voice to text, including video to text, which I'm going to show you, which I find spooky. And last but by no means not least, one of the other game changers we're going to talk about, intelligent cameras with onboard analytics, onboard facial recognition, attached to massive high-speed databases. Now, I know that earlier today or over the past 24 hours, there have been talks here saying, yeah, you can hide from facial recognition databases, and you can opt out, and you can do this, no, you can't. No, you can't. You can't, period. I'm going to show you. I have great respect for the speaker that was talking earlier today about facial recognition and how you can dodge the governmental databases and the DL databases. You can't. You absolutely can't. I'm an investigator. I've been doing this for 25 years. I do a lot of work with law enforcement. These guys are former law enforcement and special agents and state cops, and they're PIs forever. You can ask us all about it. You can't. Another thing is ridiculously accurate precision target marketing. The name of the game here, guys, is not that there's people out there that are Big Brother that want to invade your privacy. They want to sell you stuff. This is all about money. It's not nefarious. It's not sinister. This is all an attempted engine of capitalism. That's it. They want to sell you stuff. They want to know everything about you so they can sell you stuff. And it results in you each getting a digital proctology exam. There's no escape from it. But it's not a sinister motive. They want to sell you stuff. They want to own your eyeballs. We're going to talk about augmented reality. We're going to talk about it a little bit with actual augmented reality, but we're going to talk about other things like Google goggles. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. We're going to talk about that. Everybody wants to know what your cell phone sees. So they're encouraging you to use it for things like barcode scanning, visual recognition of things like paintings, and augmented reality. They want to know that you're in New York and you're at the Empire State Building, not just from OCR and not just from your purchases and not just from you buying a ticket through your cell phone, but because you've taken a photo of a building and you've used augmented reality to ID that building. And again, it's all about money. Data storage costs. Somebody sent this to me about 2 months ago. This is a no-lie ad. I don't know if you can see this. $3,400 for a 10 meg drive. This is in my lifetime, folks. I can go down to the lowest form of life, a Staples tech salesman. And I can say, give me your biggest disc. And for $160, I can walk out of there with a 2 terabyte disc. I can tell you when I started as an investigator, there wasn't 2 terabytes of investigative data in the country. That's a fact. This was the reality, not just when I started, but well into my career. The main thing that's changed, one of the main things that's changed, there's no erasing, there's no deleting, there's no forgetting. Everything you've ever done, every stupid photo, every ranting, troll-like blog post, every drunken text message, everything is saved forever. Forever. It's saved, and it's not just saved, it's indexed and it's cross-referenced and it's tied to your name forever. You don't believe it? Come by the table later and I'll show you. I mean, yeah, baby, right? You know, there's just too much to say about this, and I don't have time. And this isn't only done by the government. Everybody here is familiar with Archive.org and the memory hole and the Wayback Machine and Google caching and every effort by everybody to save everything. You do it because, first of all, if you throw something away, you don't know if you're going to need it a year from now. And it's not like stacking up stuff in your office. You just leave it on the hard drive, and every month or every week or every hour, an automatic text search program runs and indexes every damn thing. I mean, and this is the dumb version of that, where you have to actually go back and click on something. Believe me, in my world, everything is saved forever. You give me your social security number, I will give you back 42 years of your address history. 42 years of your address history. You give me any phone number, I can run an archive phone search. I've got 45 years of phone listings. Because it's useful to me. If I do a cold case, I want to know whose phone number this was 20 years ago. I want to know who lived in this building 30 years ago. It's useful, and again, it's worth money. I need it, I want it, it helps me do cases, I can sell it to other investigators, I can sell it to law enforcement, it's worth money, and I can go to Staples and buy a 2 terabyte disk for $169. What do I have to throw anything away for? Now, by the way, the US government got into this saving data forever business a little too late, so now they're hitting everybody with subpoenas. This is a subpoena to archive.org. We want all your stuff on this guy. Even Mr. Spock gets it. Even President Obama. Whatever you do, it will be pulled up again somewhere in your life. Spock is right. It will be. Now, here's the biggest thing that's changed. This is number one point of this talk. There is no privacy anymore. There's no shame. There's no desire for anonymity. The people in this room and everybody else on the planet publicly post everything. You put up your name, your address, your phone number, where you go to school, where you work, who your friends are, your sexual orientation, what you did last night, what you did last week. More information than anybody really needs to know, you put it up there. Now, you know, I'm sort of schizophrenic when I get up at the Hope Convention and I talk about this. Many of you are my friends. The rest of you are probably my colleagues. Some of you are, I don't really want to know, but most of you are either friends or colleagues or people I've met over the years. Probably a solid 20% of this room I know, well. So I've got to say, as your friend, what the hell are you thinking? On the other hand, as an investigator, I've got to say, thank you, really. I mean, I am so appreciative. You make my job so much easier that I can be sitting in my boxer shorts at 2 o'clock in the morning and find out everywhere you've ever lived, everywhere you've ever worked, 20 of your photos, who your current girlfriend is, your wife's name, and so on and so forth. I mean, thank you, but you're idiots. Stop it. Let me give you an example. I put this up every time that I give a talk. Here is this guy, JSAV. Now, by the way, if you look back at some of the old videos of the talks I've given at Hope, you will see we're talking about stuff before it's even in the public consciousness. We were talking about Twitter 4 years ago. Twitter is now in the Library of Congress. Every tweet has been turned over to the Library of Congress. You think your tweets have disappeared? I can tell you that when I do a criminal investigation, I hit LOC with a subpoena for all your tweets. Every tweet you've ever done. Guys, listen carefully. Nothing you put on the web anywhere, not a tweet, not a blog, not an SMS, not a web page, not a web page that you delete 15 seconds later, nothing. Once you put it up there, it's gone, it's sucked into a system, it's indexed, it's cross-referenced to you, and I can get it. And you cannot get the genie back in the bottle. If you don't want somebody to read that 6 months from now, don't put it up ever. Look at this guy. Eating pizza, going to work, watching TV, cleaning his room. I mean, his hour-by-hour activities. Now, I can tell you, my own mother doesn't want that much detail about my life. The only people that want that much detail about my life are in the New York field office of the FBI. But I mean, this is typical now. Everything you do, going out for pizza, watching a movie. Just finished watching the movie. It was okay. At Bob's Bar and Grill, bumped into Fred. Listen, if I'm investigating you and I want to know what you were doing on a given day, thank you very much. And by the way, guys, you can't predict the future. You don't know if these posts are going to bite you in the ass tomorrow because of what happens a few hours from now. You put this on Twitter, it's there forever. And by the way, people are constantly sucking down Twitter. All of these people following your Twitter feed, half of them you don't know who they are. Let me tell you who those people are. They're marketers, they're investigators, and they're law enforcement. I'm one of them. I own peoplefinder.net. I suck down every MySpace page, every Facebook page, every Twitter feed. Hey, you may get smart and delete it. You can't. And by the way, here's the components of a Twitter feed. You think it's just 140 characters? No, no, no. It's your IP address, it's your geographic location, it's how long you've been a Twitter member. I mean, there's 34, 37 data components to every Twitter feed. You think it's just, you know what? Whoever that is, shut up. Don't do that again. I'm a sweet, lovable guy, but I don't appreciate it. Is that okay? All right. Let's talk about Twitter a little more. All tweets from the date Twitter started are now at the Library of Congress. They are public record. Twitter is now interoperable with Facebook, which is like huge privacy invader, moderate privacy invader. Hey, let's get together and be a mega privacy invader. Every freaking tweet, if you're stupid enough and press the wrong button, is on your Facebook page. This isn't news to anybody in this room, but think about it. Micro-targeting of Twitter. Now, here's something called, I think it's called 140 Proof. Yeah. There's an outfit called 140 Proof. You contact them. You tell them, I want to sell products to senior citizen Chinese grandmothers in Ames, Iowa. They will look through their Twitter database and say, we have 500 people we think that you should market to. They can micro-target to Twitter because they do what I do, what law enforcement does, what everybody else does. They gobble up your Twitter feed. Now, here's sort of a crooked version of that. It's called followers for sale. It's probably somebody in this room, I wouldn't be surprised. For $24.97, you get a batch of followers that fit your criteria. You just pay them by PayPal. It goes probably into PayPal somewhere in Minsk, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but hey, Twitter is not private. Let me give you a ridiculous example of how the concept of what gets put on the web has changed. There's a guy by the name of Hassan Elahi. I put this up in 2008. It bears repeating. Hassan Elahi was being harassed like mad by the FBI. They really thought he was some kind of terrorist or terrorist supporter or sympathizer or something. And he was really afraid they were going to swoop him up and send him off to Guantanamo because he couldn't prove what he was doing. Well, he put up a website called Tracking Transients. Every hour he takes his cell phone, he takes a picture where he is, he puts a caption on it, and he uploads it to his website. His entire life is on the web. Of course, the FBI is now screwed, which is his intent. For me, this is bizarre. I wouldn't even think of it. But if you post where you are every hour to Twitter, if you update your Facebook feed, if you are constantly SMSing, this isn't outside the norm. This is the new norm. Here, for example, present location on Friday, the 27th of June. He puts up the map grid, the GPS coordinates, the photo, and everything he was doing. You know, and by the way, if Twitter's not enough for you, there's others, there's Quick, you can upload photos, you can upload a live video feed. You can basically have your whole life visible on the net. And this is considered the norm these days. This is the biggest change. Privacy is dead because essentially you guys have murdered it. And when it tries to come back to life, you drive a stake through its heart every day. Here's a ridiculous example. I mean, really, that WTF, I mean it. I won't say it on the DVD, but, you know, do a little abbreviation translation. What kind of moron uses Blippy? Well, let me tell you, millions of people. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. This is a relatively new thing. You're nuts. Why do you put your finances and your purchases and your entire shopping history consensually in the public domain? Now, by the way, I want you to see how these weasels package this. And what's amazing is that millions of suckers fall for this.
What'd you get?
Oh, crap.
We've all been asked. Sometimes we don't want to tell. But sometimes it's the spark that starts an interesting conversation. Blippy lets you share your purchases with friends who share their purchases with you. Talk about new restaurants. See the things your friends are buying.
Yeah. You get the idea. Well, by the way, let me tell you, Blippy, for the first month and a half of its operation, didn't realize that it was being spidered by Google. So everybody's name, these are actual grabs. Everybody's name, everybody's purchases, and I've been dying for an excuse to use this laser pointer. These things that are grayed out there, they're actual credit card number. Now, by the way, if you are a moron and you post your information to something like this, you deserve every bit of screwing that you get, either on purpose or by accident. Millions of people are doing this. And guys, you heard it here first. This is going to be the norm. And this is really, really valuable because one of the things we're going to talk about is what used to be called the big sort, what used to be called affiliation marketing. The bottom line is, whatever you like, usually your friends like. However you vote, usually your friends vote. There was an interesting study a couple of weeks ago that the best way to find a job is to go to somebody you hardly know. Because if you go to your close friends and say, hey, I need a job, you already know everybody they know. They can't, turn you on to any job openings. You need to go to people outside your circle of friends. You are your friends. That's why Facebook is worth gazillions of dollars. Anyway, moving on. Another one, Swipely. By the way, whoever names these companies should be killed. But Blippy and Swipely, this is the new obnoxiously norm. Now, the bottom line is, for most of you guys, anything of any significance happens in your life, you post it. Some of you guys have got to be my age and you remember Philosophy 101, horrible core course when you went to college, and one of the things is discuss. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it really fall? Yes, the damn tree fell. But the new norm is, if something happens and it's not posted on the net, did it really happen? Everything happens. And what brought this to life for me? Let's see, show of hands, who recognizes this video? About 45% of this room. This is Saddam Hussein being hung. And by the way, as much as I love watching this, I could watch this 20 times a day. Let's move on. But you need to realize what this means. This is Hitler in the bunker, but on somebody's cell phone. Everything that happens of any importance, any significance in the world, photographed, videoed, posted, discussed, freaking tweeted. I mean, even, now by the way, of course, the thing you need to keep in mind, in addition to you consensually dropping your pants and violating your own privacy, is all of your friends say, oh man, Bob, last night, drunk off his ass, vomited on some girl's shoes. Trust me, I know who Bob is because I've got all of his friends and family relationships, and I know you were drunk off your ass and vomiting. And if I investigate you for a DWI 2 months from now, I know you've got a history of intoxication. That, by the way, is a real case, where we found a post about a guy being drunk. A couple of months later, he was driving in Texas, swerved onto the wrong side of the road, hit somebody head on. He was on the wrong side of the road. He swore that they didn't do a tox scan in the hospital for alcohol. He swore that he was stone cold sober, he had a blowout, or he was swerving or something. I forget what the hell it was, about 2 years ago. We found all these partying pictures and his friends talking about him being a big boozer, and he went to jail for 8 years for manslaughter. By the way, I'm very proud of myself. Now, let's talk about the obvious sources. MySpace. Sucks beyond belief. I know you all have MySpace pages. I know you're all ashamed of having MySpace pages. But let's talk about MySpace. Name, date of birth or age, city, schools, jobs, music, which, by the way, tells me a lot about you. What books you read tells me a lot about you. Your friends tells me everything about you. Where you lived, your hobbies, your children, your parents, your siblings, your family, and photos, 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 photos. Holy grail number one for investigators. Holy grail number two is your constant physical location, which we're going to talk about. Politics. Now, I don't know about you guys. When I was growing up, you don't tell people your politics. How'd you vote? Hey, there's a reason it's a secret ballot. Politics. Religion? Yeah, I'm Jewish. I'm proud of it. But anyway, none of your freaking business. Sexual orientation. I'm straight, but none of your business. Criminal history, email addresses, finances. Hey, I just got a raise. I'm making $70,000 a year now. Hey, I got a $25,000 bonus at the end of the year. If I'm looking to seize your money to satisfy somebody's judgment, thank you. Personal conflicts, everything. Here's some examples. This is a real web page. I'm a big badass slut and I love sucking. This is a real MySpace page. Now, I covered her face, not because I was legally obligated. She's 17 years old, and she's an idiot. I don't want to be responsible for ruining her life. Now, by the way, the funniest thing about this is not the title. 2 people trying to hunt her down. They have crushes on her. I bet they do. Okay, here's Mr. 420. And that's his screen name, 420. And he's blowing a cloud of, gee, what do you think? Could it be the stuff in the lower right-hand corner? I mean, come on. Why don't you put your felony on the screen? That's felony weight pot right there. Oh, and by the way, his name and his city and state. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. Here's my favorite. Nice 5'11" Aryan-looking woman. Her web title, Jews Did 9/11. Trust me, if we did, there would have been better targets. But her name, thank you, my brothers and sisters. I know who's clapping. Name, address, where they work, what they do, friends. I know she is a neo-Nazi piece of garbage, who, by the way, is kind of a slut if you look at the screen name, neo-Nazi slut, which I think is probably like a movie, Nazi Sluts in Hell or something. But I mean, this woman is a moron for putting this page up. Here is the bottom of a page, coke use, hookers. Now, if I'm looking to hire this guy as a controller for my company, this webpage ain't going to help them. Okay, here's my favorite, Ganja Girl. Ganja Girl's kind of cute, actually. Too young for me, though. This is a 4-year-old webpage. She was 21 at the time. No, she's all right now. She's 25. Her name's up there. Her drug use is up there. That she's bisexual is up there. Her name, her city, state. That she's the manager of a pizza factory. Everything you want to know about her. If you're looking for a bisexual drug user in that geographic area, she's your girl. Oh, here's some that just cracked me up. This guy, his web title is just effing kill yourself. I have to read this. Hold on. Does this work? This does not work. AV guy, how do I turn this on? Working? No. All right. I'm usually not technologically challenged. He says, I'm 19 years old. I smell of gunpowder. My name is so-and-so. I'm not going to read it into the disc. His career plans, just effing kill yourself. He wants to be a police officer. Okay, here's a guy, I know this one by heart. His name's there, his full date of birth is there, everything's there. You can't, I don't know, maybe you can tell, maybe not. He's pointing a 12-gauge pump shotgun into the camera, and he smells of gunpowder and Axe body spray, and he is a corrections officer, which I personally find very comforting. Here's a woman who talks about her drug use, talks about where she lives, talks about all of that, 420 and all of that. And what's her job? She is the safety manager at a crane factory. So, I mean, come on. Here's I love this one. Here's Captain Couth from Edmonton. What does it say? Killing brain cells since '85 or something like that? Feigning intelligence, whatever. Same thing. Captain Couth. This is a true story. I gave a speech at Cal Polytech, Cal Poly Pomona. You fixed it?
Yep.
What, the receiver was dead?
It was on this end.
Okay. It's your fault. Cal Poly Pomona, I gave a version of this talk there for IT security people. It was a SANS-sponsored conference. And the the conference organizer said, yeah, I went to your talk at TourCon, and it was too generic. Find some stuff about Cal Poly. So I found that there's a MySpace group, the Cal Poly Pomona Stoners. They all use pot. They use pot. They talk about using it, right before class, right after class, what rooms they meet in and smoke and toke and do whatever. And they have their real names up there. And the morning after I gave the talk, they were all arrested and expelled. Honest to God, I have nothing against personal pot use. Nothing against it. I have a lot against, supporting Mexican drug cartels and all the other obnoxious stuff like dealers getting shot and what have you. And I do believe it's kind of a gateway drug, but I don't care about these people. Their problem was not that they were drug users, they were morons. Okay, now let's get a little serious. People put stuff up on the web that's painful. That is the most private, horrible stuff. And I don't understand it, but this is the new norm. And I'm putting it up here as an example. Here's this apparently sweet young girl who got abused by her family and lost her young boy before the boy was born. And she puts the young boy's name up there, and when she lost it, and her name and everything. And it's painful, but this is the new norm. Here's a woman, I highlighted this so you can read it. She talks about how she was sexually abused by her family, how she was a hooker. She talks in the second graph down there, second one down, how she beat a girl unconscious with a rock. I mean, this is a real, honest-to-God MySpace page. Here is a rape support group, which is not a closed group on MySpace. Anybody who wants to can join it. This one in the middle, Odd Girl, I had no problem identifying her. I mean, does she really want the world to know the details of her rape? Apparently she does. Now, by the way, for those of you in this audience that are law enforcement or investigative professionals, if you don't use this stuff for your cases, it's going to bite you in the ass. Here's a guy who talked on MySpace about wanting to hurt Obama, and he had Ku Klux Klan videos on his page, and they later arrested him for actually planning a hit on Obama with another pin-headed, skin-headed buddy of his. Now, I like this guy. This is the one guy that I like. He says, I can't read it well from there because it's tiny on the presenter screen, but he basically says anybody who reads this and decides to fire me because of my MySpace page, shame on you. I mean, this is a guy who knowingly and openly puts up his webpage. Now, by the way, okay, fine, shame on me, but it's still going to happen. One of the big questions is, who are your friends? Because if I know who your friends are, I know everything there is to know about you. And that's what Facebook is all about. And by the way, on the most basic level, if I'm investigating you and I want to know who to interview, I just go to your Facebook page, your MySpace page, your Twitter feeds, whatever, and I see who you're in constant contact with, and I go visit them immediately. But besides that, mostly, I don't need to anymore. On Facebook, unlike on MySpace, the stats are, and I can tell you from investigations this is true, subscribers use their real names, their real ages, give or take a few years, their real email, addresses, hobbies, their tastes, their interests, and links to their real honest-to-God friends. By the way, depending on whether you believe MySpace's BS claim to have 125 million active web pages, which I have to tell you I'm sure is exaggeration, at least by 50 million. Facebook is either 3 or 10 times as big as MySpace. I mean, Facebook is now one-stop shopping for anybody who wants to know everything about you. And by the way, they are a much smarter data vacuum. Facebook likes, Facebook graph, all of that crap tells me everything you're interested in and everything your friends are interested in. Everything. This is an example of something that Facebook does. And the balls of these people are amazing. You press the wrong button when you sign up, they suck down your whole address book, and they send them invitations. Bob just signed up on Facebook. If you're already on, friend him. If not, sign up and hang out with Bob. 500 million Facebook pages. 20% of all internet users worldwide. Something like 43% of all Americans that use the internet now have a Facebook page. This is a mind-boggling level of penetration. Mind-boggling. They are the Walmart of the internet. The average user spends over an hour a day. There are people who spend 5 hours a day on Facebook. I mean, my retinas would burn out. But that's how it works. And by the way, the big privacy, Facebook invades privacy, the big privacy hullabaloo about Facebook. During that whole hullabaloo, 36,000 people signed up to dump Facebook. Facebook signs up that many people in less than an hour. Every hour. Facebook use. Here's a real honest-to-God graph. Scary stuff. Here is from the Bar Association, the ABA Journal. The first place they check. You come to them for a divorce, even before they hire an investigator, they look at your Facebook page and tell you what to take off right away, and the opposing party's Facebook page. Wired magazine writes for the masses, but occasionally they really get it right. Colonize the web. That's what Facebook is trying to do. And you need to understand a real difference between Facebook and Google. Google indexes the entire internet. Facebook indexes Facebook users. They concentrate on each and every one of you like a laser beam. They want to know what you read, what you do, where you do it, who your friends are, your age, your sex, your religion, your sexual orientation, everything. They index you. And by the way, it's a really good business model. Really good business model. Facebook Connect, OpenStream, all of these are things that let them know more and more and more about you. And by the way, read your Facebook terms of service sometime. How many people here, I want to try something. Raise your hand if you have a Facebook page. Okay, the whole room. Keep your, no, keep your hand up. Now, keep your hand up if you've, only if you've read the Facebook terms of service. Every hand went down. For those of you watching this on DVD or listening livecast, every freaking hand went down. Read the terms of service. Honestly, you'll be horrified at what you agreed to. Now, Facebook is gobbling up everything that tells them about you. They purchase friend feed, interoperable with Twitter. They're purchasing a travel site because as soon as they know where you travel and what you do, they want to start pointing you to their travel site. They're linking with Yelp. Why? Because when you check a restaurant on Yelp, they want to know about it. They want to know, this guy likes Chinese food. Microsoft. How many of you know what Cassandra is? Okay, I got to say, I'm really impressed. Like 10 people raised their hands. That's 10 more than have ever raised their hand. Cassandra is a program that sucks every drop of your data, every drop of value out of your data on Facebook. They wanted to data mine you, and they wanted to data mine you as well as they could, so they wrote their own privacy invasion program. And it's so good that even the US government is looking at using it. Open Graph, APIs, social plugins, so-called, likes. If you click on a web page for gay lifestyle that links back to your Facebook page, instantly Facebook knows that about you forever. You're not going to be not gay next week, despite what some preachers in Alabama may claim. You know. Open Graph. Research Open Graph. Open Graph links your Facebook account and your Facebook activity to things outside of Facebook. They don't waste their time trying to robot the web like Google. They let you do it for them. Hey, I'm Bob, and I like this website. Click. Why you do that? I don't know. Facebook tells you that tells your friends something about you that your friends really want to know. Horseshit. Your friends are your friends. They already know everything about you. That's something that Facebook wants to know. Nobody here is going to stop doing it, but be aware. Now, just as an example, this guy is the head of British Secret Intelligence. Excuse me, this guy is the former head of British Secret Intelligence. Him and his wife put so much crap on Facebook without thinking about it that he is now fired Bond. I love that. I want you all to look at this photo and ask yourselves, do you want this person to know everything about you? Do you want this dweeb to have a window into your soul? Look at that face, think about it, moving on. By the way, in Pakistan, there is actually a court hearing as to whether or not Zuckerberg should be sentenced to death. I'm really of two minds about this. Okay, moving on. Friend feed. I'm going to zip through some of this. Amazon. I'm not even going to ask for a show of hands. Everybody here uses Amazon. What does your purchasing history and your searching history on Amazon tell me, the tricky little investigator, about you? Tells me what you like, what you care about, what your interests are. It tells me about your health. It tells me about your politics. It tells me about your sexual orientation. If you buy a gay travel guide to Bermuda, come on. If you buy a book on kidney cancer, either you or somebody you care about has kidney cancer. Where you travel, your likes, your dislikes, your politics, your habits, your hobbies, your religion, your sexual orientation, everything about you. The problem with the web is nobody thinks about aggregation of data, constantly building up, drip, 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 wearing away of your privacy. It's not the one search that you did on an address, which happens to be your girlfriend's address, and so now I know. It's not Googling for books on kidney cancer. You have kidney cancer, so now I know. It's not searching for airfares to Bermuda. You went to Bermuda, now I know. It's that putting this all together, I know your girlfriend, I know where you travel, I know your sexual orientation. You need to know what you've done, goes into a database, never goes away. And after a year, I own you. I own you. Nobody thinks about that. EBooks. Hey, I download EBooks. EFF, God bless their paranoid little hearts, put together a chart, which I urge you to always, like weekly, check out the EFF site. I do, and it's amazing stuff that I, as an investigator, don't even know about. Now, by the way, I use EFF as a guide to, I better get this database before it goes away. But here is what Kindle and Nook and all of the other ebook readers save about you. Now, eBay, PayPal, and Skype. It's one company. Everything you pay for on the web, everybody you talk to on the phone, everything you search for on eBay, this company knows everything about you. And by the way, more important, it knows about your finances. Your finances are the basic reason you sign up for 2 out of these 3 services. You're buying stuff. It's got your bank account, it's got your credit cards, it's got your home address, where you deliver stuff. These guys know so much about you, it's silly. It's got your physical location, and by the way, it's got your friends, your associates, your business activities, all of that. When I hire an investigator, I admit it, I PayPal them a good part of the time. A lot easier than writing a check, putting it in an envelope, stapling it to the invoice, putting it in the envelope, and mailing it. Come on. Now, let's talk about Skynet, or as I call it, subpoena target number 1, Google. Again, look at this photo before we continue. This is Sergey and Larry. These guys know your deepest, darkest secrets. Look at them. Are you happy about that? Web, blogs, news groups, images, Gmail, Google Chat and Gtalk, every freaking book, whether the publisher wants it or not. Google News. If I know what you click on, I know what you're interested in news.google.com. Maps. If you pull up an address on a map, you're not doing it just because, gee, I wonder where 48 3rd Street is. It's important to you. And if I know that's a Chinese restaurant, I know you're meeting somebody at a Chinese restaurant. If it's an abortion clinic, it tells me something really interesting. Google Music, Google Finance, God help us. Google Checkout, big competitor for PayPal. Google Video and YouTube, we're going to talk about that. Google Telecom. Guys, for those of you that are into the phone system, and a lot of you are, sometimes for unhealthy reasons, Google is a telecom. Google is a legal telephone company. They have the CNAM database. They have the subscriber database. They copy that and cross-reference it with all of their stuff. Frugal, kind of dying, but they still have it. Chrome is old news. Now it's Android. Google accounts. IP number logging. Mobile. We're going to talk about Android. How outrageous is it if I want to put my address book and my calendar on an Android phone, I have to first send it to Google? Does that not freak anybody out? I can't take a USB cable, plug it into my Mac, and sync. I've got to send all my friends, family, and business associates, which by the way is why I have a Palm, I have to send it all to the mothership and have Google give it back to me. Think about that. I guarantee you not many of you have. Calendars, where I'm going to be for the next 3 months. I got to send that to Google and then get it back. And it stays in Google Calendars. You delete Google Calendars, it deletes it from your phone. You got to leave it for them to screw with, or you can't sync your phone, right? Think about that. Everybody Googles their own data. We're going to talk about de-anonymizing stuff, but let's understand something. You think, I run a search looking for spanking websites. They don't know who I am. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Mainly because at some point, you have Googled your own name. You have Googled your own address. You have Googled your own phone number. How many people here, show of hands, and I know the answer, it's 1/3, but how many people here have Googled their social security number? Come on, show of hands. You big fat liars, there's only about 20 hands up. A lot of you have. And think about the things that all of these things that are now integrated into Google tell Google about you. Double click, AdMob. Double click an AdMob, that's enough. But FeedBurner, RSS feed tells me everything you're interested in. What your politics are, what your religion is, what your tech bent is. Are you a Mac guy? Are you a Linux guy? I can't even think of anything else worth. Now, docs, spreadsheets, calendar. How many of you in this room are cloud computers? How many of you use cloud computing? Come on. Half the room. That information is gone. I'm going to scroll through some of this. Google profile. As if they don't know everything about you anyway, they invite you to put all your information in one nice place. Google Health. You're not creeped out that Sergey Brin knows when your last prostate exam was? Come on. Google Voice. Let me ask you something. How many of you have Google Voice? 85% of the room. It gives Google your home, your cell phone, your work, and everybody who you talk to. Just think about that. Really doesn't need elaboration. Let's talk about Android. We're going to talk about this a lot more with Mac because Apple is much, much smarter about this. But let me tell you, everything that you use a phone for is another drip, drip, drip of your privacy disappearing. Use Google Maps? Come on. It gives away your location and it tells people you're interested in that location. If it's a guns and ammo store, they know something about you. If it's an abortion clinic, they know something about you. If it's a divorce lawyer, they know something about you. You scan a barcode, they know what products you're interested in. You look up a movie, they know what type of movies you like watching. Okay. Mobile phones are, again, a huge game changer. And as you're going to see, Google and Apple, who are in the forefront of this, they understand something. That cell phone is in your pocket. It monitors everything you do, everywhere you go, everybody you talk to, every interest you have. The more functional, the more useful that phone is, if you use it to scan text, if you use it to click on a barcode, if you use it to pull up a map, if you use Google 411, every single one of those things goes into the big book of knowledge that I know about Bob, or I know about Sally. And it never, ever, 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 ever goes away. Google Goggles. This is the most brilliant thing. First of all, this is a terrifically useful program. I can take a picture of a work of art, and it can tell me everything that I want to know about that work of art. It will recognize it, and it'll say, this is, Mona Lisa, and here's the whole history and whatever. Google will know that I'm sitting in Italy, for the next week. Barcode scanning. I click on a barcode in a supermarket, it not only knows what I'm interested in, it sends a location-aware pulse, and it knows physically where I am down to the exact aisle. Down to the exact aisle. And again, these are not my icons. These are Google's icons. These are all the things that they want to know about you and index about you. And because this is such a great program, you're going to use it. Use Gmail because Gmail is simple, quick, cheap. It doesn't report your IP address to the world. It gives you a gazillion gigabytes to store stuff, and it tells you, don't throw away your email, archive it. Why the hell do you think that is? Because they love you? Because they want to give you 5 gig on their servers because Sergey discovered he's your third cousin? He wants all your email there to be indexed, to be searched, to be cross-referenced, so they have a picture of you. So they own your eyeballs. And so they understand your eyeballs. If there's 100 emails back and forth between you and somebody they've identified as your mom about kidney cancer, they know either you or your mom has kidney cancer, and probably the algorithm knows which one of you it is. Gmail is great. And by the way, they may not report your IP address, but they absolutely buffer your IP address. Google Goggles is unbelievable. It's an example of where it's going. What the heck is this? Google Shopping. Okay, Google provides a free 411 service. They provide voice to text. Why do they provide voice to text? Because if you take advantage of voice to text, and by the way, what you don't know is Google converts all your voicemail messages to text even if you don't use that service. Why? Because it's another window into your soul. Somebody leaves a message, hey Bob, we're meeting at such and such a place and there's strippers and this and that. Google knows that. Every voicemail message left on Google for your Google Voice account is indexed as if it was typed into text. Oh, how many of you can read that thing with the red arrow? Well, for those of you that can't, Google Mobile Terms of Service. You give them the right to constantly record and constantly buffer and constantly archive and then resell your location. And since it's GPS and Skyhook on a lot of phones, they know where you are within 10 feet all the time. The heck is this? Right. Location-aware Google Maps. What you don't realize is Google Maps are now location-aware. Not just latitude. You can use maps that sync not just on your phone, which you probably already know about, but even on your laptop. These are location-aware devices. Now let's talk about latitude. I don't know, how many of you use latitude? A decent amount. How many of you know that do use latitude, know that it constantly buffers your location and saves it forever? You can delete it so it doesn't show up. Google still saves it. Here's an example of what's being developed. Now, I got to tell you, this is a brilliant program. This is a functional program. This is an unbelievably privacy-invading program. This is called Geochron. Geochron sets up computer activities based on your location. You can tell Geochron to send your wife an SMS when your train is about to pull into your home station, "Honey, come pick me up." Frankly, it's a brilliant program. Enormous functionality, terrific functionality. You've got a 14-year-old daughter. You know she's been seeing a bad 17-year-old guy. You can have her phone send you a text message. She's on her way to Vinny's house. When that occurs, when her phone gets within a mile of Vinny's house. Now, terrifically functional, yes. People will be using this, yes. Will this be buffered and tell about you? It absolutely will. Google is brilliant in that it not only makes its programming open to the world, unlike the Nimrods at Apple, but they give you functionality. They give you plugins. They give you access to APIs. They want you to write programs that helps invade the privacy, helps document every single activity of Android phone users. Now, this is what they used to say, Google Chrome, most of the user experience takes place on the web. That's not what they say anymore. They know most of it takes place on the cell phone, and most of it takes place when you're not on the web. Google TV, how many of you know that Google is now working with Logitech and Sony and Dish Network to put together a device? Google will know. You know, it's like the Santa Claus song. They know when you're sleeping. They know when you're awake. They know when you're watching porno. They know when you're in front of the TV and what you're watching. What you watch on TV tells a lot about you. How much time you spend in front of the TV tells a lot about you. When you're home tells a lot about you. Google Music. Google hates that Apple has that huge iTunes penetration. They're starting Google Music, and I guarantee you they're going to find a way to link it to every damn other Google product, including Android phones. I mean, you have iTunes on an Apple phone, you're going to have Google Music on an Android phone, and they are going to give Apple a run for their money, which, again, spanking Steve Jobs, you know, kind of hard to feel bad about that. Google Power and Metering. Yes, folks, Google is going to be providing electricity to more and more people. They've started a public utility. They're going to sell power. They're going to know how much power you use and what you do. And it's mandatory that if you buy electricity from Google, you must use what's called intelligent metering, which means a lot of your devices are going to be hooked up to Skynet. They will be able to tell by a surge of power consumption on the refrigerator, you've opened the refrigerator door, you've closed it again. You've gone back to your TV, you've turned the channel, Google TV. You've gone into the bedroom, you've turned on the light in there. I don't know, this creeps me out beyond belief. It's not a secret. You can go to Google, to Google Blogs, and Google will tell you about what they're doing. Google Travel. Google wants to know everywhere you go. They just bought a travel recommendations firm. Google News, we've talked about that. Listen, Bitly, everybody here uses bit.ly, Bitly. Everybody uses it. If I click on a Bitly link and it sends me to spankme.com, by the way, I keep using that as an example. Don't read anything into that. I gotta say that, come on. If you use, quiet, whatever you're about to say, don't say it. If you use Bitly, every URL, every shortened URL that you click on tells me something about you. Google hates that. Google goes nuts when somebody knows something about you that they don't know. So they've started GOOGL. They now have a URL shortener. And one of the things that if you're paying attention, you're going to see is Google does things to screw Apple, and Apple constantly does things to screw Google. Apple, as you're going to see when we get into Apple, new version of Safari strips out ads. Does Steve Jobs do that because he loves you? No. Steve Jobs does that, so Apple are the only people who can serve you ads. It strips out all the Google ads. Pretty freaking smart. Google does the same sort of thing. Google, listen, I like playing Mafia Wars. I admit it. I'm not going to play Mafia Wars anymore, because if I do, Google is going to know how much time I've been spending on Mafia Wars and all of the really disreputable things I do while I play Mafia Wars. Sorry, they have now bought nobody really knows if it's a controlling share or just a monstrous couple of $100 million share in the company that publishes Mafia Wars. Google Wave. Again, Google is a brilliant company, a frighteningly brilliant company. They see a niche, they develop the best possible product for it, and they use it to suck every bit of information they can. How many people here have used Google Wave? More than half of the room. It's a great service. It's a phenomenal service. Incredible collaboration facilitation. But think about what it tells about you. When you use that whiteboard, when you watch a video together, when you collaborate on a product, sending it back and forth, it's as if Google is part of the collaboration. Brilliant, functional, fantastic product, sucks every bit of privacy out of you. Listen, guys, Google has its own freaking satellite. Skynet, it's Skynet. Listen, I'm not a paranoid guy. I use this stuff for my own purposes. I recognize this is all an engine of capitalism. Google is wonderful at what they do. I've bought Google stock as a result. I use a ton of their products. I've got to tell you, everything you do is sucked down by Google. Google has enough RAM, not servers. Google right now, their server farms have enough RAM to save the entire web. Think about that. That's not an exaggeration. I didn't make that up. That's really true. That just gives you an idea of how monstrously huge they are. They add storage not on the drive or the server rack basis, but on the facility basis. And they plan server farms not in square feet, but in acres. And it's served by their own fiber optic. They have their own dedicated networks, powered by their own power company. They are Skynet. Now, 2006 and a half, my 2006 talk got a little interrupted, but 2006, I said the day will come when somebody will Google a murder case and find poisons, divorce lawyers, Aruba, offshore banking, blah, blah, blah. Well, life imitates art. During the 7-day trial, witnesses, I can't really read this, but read it for yourself. Here's a guy who came home, supposedly comes home, he's with his wife in the kitchen, a couple of bad men come in wearing ski masks, he fights with them, he gets beaten up, they kill his wife with a shotgun, they run out, he calls 911. Well, God bless the detective in Florida who investigated the murder, or investigated the case, because they discovered that a month before this guy, Justin Barber, had Googled trauma cases, gunshot, right chest. Mr. Barber is either on death row or he's already been executed. I'm not sure which. You are what you Google. Now, do no evil, right? Do no evil. Google is a wonderful, socially aware, socially concerned organization. I mean, basically, you use Google, you get puppy dogs and unicorns, right? It's a bunch of crap. Do no evil is a bunch of crap. Google is a ferocious, rapacious, aggressive, carnivorous corporation that exists to make money. I mean, God bless them. I have no problem with that. Just be aware of it. They are not there for the public good. They are not there for a public utility. Their reason for existing, their business model, is to know everything about everything, but especially you, and sell it. And they do outrageous things. And when people tell them you can't do this, they say, screw you. Here's some examples. Street View, book scans and copyrights, YouTube, and misuse of trademarks. Street View. Street View now masks faces in New York City, but only in New York City. Why? A guy by the name of Kevin Bankston checked Street View of his address one day, and he sees himself walking by his own house. He writes Google and he says, hey, I didn't give you permission to take my picture. They said, screw you. No expectation of privacy. You were on the street. Tough. They didn't realize is he's a lawyer, and he's also house counsel for the EFF. Bad move, Sergey. They did all kinds of mean, nasty, litigious stuff. Finally, Google said, okay, we'll take down your picture, and we'll mask the face of everybody, only where you might be walking. If he goes to Iowa, he still might get hit. Okay. By the way, Google routinely trespasses on private roads. I got some great stories about that later. Google is now going into business establishments. It's not enough they get you outside, they're going inside. Here's a tech blog, Jank Hank. He walked in, he says, oh my God, there's a Google photographer taking photographs inside my convenience mart. You know, I probably went to the guy and said, what's going on? And the guy says, oh, I don't know. It's Google. Don't worry about it. You know, New Yorkers get that joke. Anyway, this is Google. They're taking pictures inside now. Now, Google is scanning every single book. I'm about to have a book come out. We'll talk about that later. I bled to create this book. Thousands of hours, aggravation, dealing with every type of idiot you can imagine. That's just my agent and publisher. You know, it was, I gave birth. You know, I've heard people talking about giving birth to a book. It's really true. Google says, thank you for bleeding and putting thousands of hours of your life and your soul and your creative process into this. Now we're going to scan the whole freaking thing. And they do that, and they do that in absolute contempt of the copyright process. There's a war going on about that. News. You go to news.google.com, New York Times is there, Wall Street Journal is there, AP is there, your local paper is there. Did they give permission to Google? Nuh-uh. Is Google serving you ads based on someone else's content that they paid reporters and photographers and presses and whatnot to create? Yes, Google is saying, New York Times, you have a budget of $200 million or $500 million a year, whatever the heck it is. Thank you for creating all that content. Now we're going to use it to sell people ads, and screw you. Absolute contempt. Understand something. Google is a force unto itself. Google's annual revenues last year was $23 billion. They want lawyers. They can have hot and cold running lawyers. Their net income, their profit last year, $6.5 billion. Their cash, their net assets, $43 billion, of which $26 million is retained cash. By the way, the other, doing the math, $17 billion, they have $17 billion worth of infrastructure, which I find scarier than their cash. Now, by the way, just one thing I want to tell you about Google before we move on, because I've really got to speed this up and show you some cool stuff. This talk is going on till 8, right? Okay, we're on schedule. CNET decided to interview Google. They called Google, and Google said, sure, come on down to our headquarters, and we'll set you up a meeting with our public information officer. So Google, before the Google reporter, before I think it was, I forget who it is, I think it was a woman. Before she went in there, she just Googled the guy she was meeting with. And she got into a privacy discussion about them, about Google, and she said, by the way, I Googled you. And here's what I was able to find out about you. Here's your wife's name, here's where you live, here's your kids' names, here's your hobbies, blah, blah, blah. 53-page dossier, I think it was. The guy freaked out, terminated the interview, threw her off the Google campus, and banned CNET for a year from interviews with Google. I don't know. Practice what you preach, maybe not. So the bottom line is, don't Google Google. And again, why do they do this? Why do they know everything you search, everywhere you go, every email you care about, your entire calendar, documents you prepare, what books you read, what you do with your cell phone, what photos, I mean, they bought Picasso, what blogs you read, what blogs you post to. Why do they care about that? Because they want to sell you stuff. Not because they want to invade your privacy, even though Sergey Brin is sort of like a low-rent Boris bad enough. It's because they want to sell you stuff. And the more they know about you, the more they can sell you stuff. Needs to be mentioned, but I can't read it. Oh. Needs to be mentioned. Android phones take screenshots, periodic screenshots of everything you're doing on the phone, and they save it to memory. You'll excuse the expression, Google it and see if I'm right. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the thing about that. Now, there is something that I've now coined this phrase. You're going to hear about Rambam's first law, Rambam's second law, Hoover's law I just showed you. I'm coining a new phrase, Google addiction. Think about how they hook you. Think of Android as a gateway drug. Think of Gmail as a gateway drug. After you've been using these privacy-sucking services, Calendar, Gmail, Address Book, Google Docs, Android phones, for a year, you're hooked. You're hooked. And there's no 12-step leaving Google program. There's no Google Anonymous. You're hooked. You can't go away. You can't. Think about what it would do, how disruptive it would be to you. Change your Gmail address, change your Google Voice number. Remove everything from Docs, remove everything from spreadsheets. Dump your Google phone and all of the interoperability you've programmed into it. Google is now think about these guys. You know, as a goof, somebody in my office put in an MP3 of the Addams Family with that picture, and I thought it was so appropriate, I just left it in there. Google is doing something brilliant. This is flying under the radar, maybe not in this room, maybe not at a hacker conference, but this is the most brilliant thing that Google is doing. The iPhone is a Hitler phone. Anything that you do with it, you've got to ask Apple's permission. Can I please have a program that does this? Can I please use iTunes to upload a song, a program? Can I please sync my phone? The iPhone is absolutely, even though you've bought it, you own it, it's your data, it's your property, it's your product, it's your email addresses. Apple owns it and owns you. It's their terms of service. Google is doing something brilliant. Google, by far, is following the ethos of the net. And it's saying, we're giving you a free program. And I've spoken to some people who've used this, and this is supposedly, analogous to, I don't know how many of you guys go back way, way, way as long as I do with the Mac, but this is like HyperCard for Google. This is going to be out within the next weeks, or certainly not more than a few months. You are going to be able to program your own programs for Android phones. You want your Android phone to do something, there isn't an app for that, well, make your own. And when you do that, Google will own you even more. Sergey Brin's fangs will be deeper into your neck, sucking out the last bit of your privacy. Understand what the trade-off is. Android phones are phenomenal. They're incredible. They do everything you want a phone to do. But everything you do with them, they tell Google about it. This is going to keep you on an Android phone. It might make me switch to Android. Doing my own freaking programming and having the phone, get up, sing, walk around the room and answer the door for me. It's like the Borg. It really is. You will be assimilated. After a while, you just have to say, fine, take me. But they're doing it brilliantly. They're not doing it like Nazis, like Apple. Vi ogno. You can only do what we want. Android is saying, hey, do whatever you want. Just tell us about it. Am I right? Oh, wait. Hold on. Now, for those of you who are saying, oh my God, I had no idea what Google is aggregating, what Google is grabbing, I have to tell you there is a way to leave it all. Listen carefully, silence in the room, because this is very, very important. This is a news report that I found, and this will tell you how to leave Google.
Concerned about your privacy while using Google? The internet giant says it understands. Google is now offering users a chance to opt out and live in privacy in a remote mountain village. Tech Trends reporter Jeff Tate has more.
Thanks, Teresa. They call it the opt-out village, and it's just what you'd expect from Google.
If you want to keep your information private, all you have to do is move to our 22-acre opt-out village and not speak to anyone from the outside world. It's very simple.
Just go to the Google front page, click the opt-out button, and in minutes, a van will come to your house and pick you up. That same day, a team of Google privacy experts eliminates your home address, guaranteeing it will no longer appear on Google local pages. And after just 2 days in the back of a van, you're there.
In the village, we can guarantee that there's no chance of Google reading your emails because there are no computers. And because they're also monitored and tracked by Google, there are no banks or hospitals.
Residents will be expected to know how to grow food, suture wounds, and bury corpses by hand if they plan to opt out. And Google has gone the extra mile to ensure that users who choose to opt out are given complete privacy in their new home. A 30-foot tall, 10-foot thick physical data security wall keeps all former Google users from leaving the village until they decide they want to start using Google again.
The opt-out village can't even be seen by Google satellites because the entire town is enclosed with a large metal box with no openings.
Google says those wishing to opt back into using Google after their time in the village will be allowed to do so if they agree to be branded with a whimsical G on their foreheads to label them doubters.
If you don't want to give us complete access to your most private thoughts and feelings, that's fine. You can just toil in the hinterlands and die young.
And Carter says the opt-out village is already getting rave reviews. One of the first village residents sent this letter praising the total privacy inside the village, saying all alone, no light, hard to breathe. Now that's one man whose data is secure. For the Onion News Network, I'm Jeff Tate.
Thanks, Jeff. If you have any questions about the opt-out village, type them in an email to a friend and Google will get back to you within 24 hours. And in just a minute, is your child missing out on teen sex?
Now, by the way, that's from The Onion. I love The Onion. I mean, the physical version, the online version. If you want to see that again, it's on YouTube, believe it or not. What I want you to understand is, now, moving on, Google is not the only company that does this. Your eyeballs are worth money, not just to Google, but to everybody else. And now, like a speed freak, I'm going to go through all the other people that are sucking at your privacy. Yahoo, Yahoo is an under-the-radar Google. They have as many email accounts almost as Gmail. They have Yahoo groups. They have My Yahoo. They are huge, huge in Europe and Asia. Web hosting, e-commerce, and God bless them, they're upfront about it. When you register with Yahoo and sign into our service, you are not anonymous to us. And why do they do this? Because they want to sell your data. And they say, I don't know how many people can read that top line, they talk about squeezing every drop of value out of users' data. It's not a secret. Nobody seems to care. Here is, if you go to, Yahoo has an entire marketing arm. They brag they've got 500 million people. They know their likes, their dislikes, their habits, their hobbies, everything they do. And they would be happy to sell you these users' eyeballs. Yahoo doesn't do it because it's Big Brother. They do it because they want to make money off of your eyeballs. Microsoft. I grew up in the era when Microsoft was a villain. I can't believe how quaint it is that I used to think that privacy invasion was that they wouldn't unbundle Internet Explorer. That was the big hullabaloo for a solid year, right? People who are my age, they won't allow Internet Explorer not to be installed on Windows systems. I yearn for those days. Let's talk about de-anonymizing data. This is something very important. You think, you put in a search, you do something on the net, you look at a video, you run a search, you do an email, you're anonymous? No. Let me tell you that everything that you do tells more and more and more about you. Everything helps vector Google, and by extension me, into who you are. Within a day, I'll know if you're a male. I'll know where you're living. I'll know where you're working. If I have your cell phone number, if you've done any of this through a cell phone, I've got your name from CNAM. I know where you go during the day. I know everything about you. But let's say you throw away your cell phone. If we only want to talk about net browsing, I can tell you that your browser, because of plugins, because of activity, because of cookies, because of where you go on a daily basis, is absolutely unique. You open up your browser and look at the attributes of your browser, it is absolutely identical. It is a fingerprint. It is a cyber fingerprint. EFF, again, God bless their little left-wing aging hippie hearts. They have a thing that allows you to actually go and have your browser profiled, and they'll tell you everything you want to know. Here's an example. Congress, in their infinite privacy-invading wisdom, subpoenaed every search engine's search histories. AOL says, I'm going to turn it over, but we're going to take out everybody's name. We'll tell you what they did, but we won't tell you their names or their IP address or identifiers. Well, because it was given to Congress, it was public record, New York Times filed a FOIA request, got these millions of search histories, and they started analyzing them. Here's somebody who searched 60-year-old single man, landscapers in Liburn, Georgia, if that's not enough, Shadow Lake subdivision, Arnold, and dog that urinates on everything. When the New York Times went to the Shadow Lake subdivision in Liburn, Georgia, they found somebody named Arnold in their 60s with a dog that urinates on everything, in fact. It's not that hard to de-anonymize a search history. By the way, as an aside, it's not that hard to de-anonymize your social security number. Oh, here's EFF's deal, Panopticlick. Check it out. It will freak you out. I mean, it's anybody here who's an IT security person knows this, knows that every single browser is unique. The plugins are unique. The search history is unique. The version of the browser is unique. It is a fingerprint. My thing's dying. There are scholarly papers written on de-anonymizing data. I'm going to have to do this. Is this working? Tech support guy? Okay. This is remote fingerprinting of physical devices. How the US government is sponsoring scholarly works on how I can go remotely, get into your network printer, and identify just that printer. How I can get into a terminal and identify just that terminal. Remote fingerprinting of physical devices. Google it, read it, be afraid, be very afraid. Again, this is all old hat, but people just don't think about it. Cookies, browsing history, download history, embedded graphics. You think you've navigated away from a page? You haven't. Micro pages. URL strings that have your name in them, or that have your email address in them, or that have your password in them. I still see that a painfully huge amount of the time. Flash cookies. You cannot delete flash cookies. How many people here know what flash cookies are? God bless your little geeky hearts. When I ask that question in the average audience, maybe one guy raises his hand. For those of you who don't know what flash cookies are, these are persistent cookies, can't be erased by cleansing your browser, by deleting cookies from your browser, and they allow respawning of your entire history. The flash cookie saves your entire browsing history and then spits it back into your regular web cookie after you think you've deleted it. Surprise. Oh, I love this. Abandonment tracker. How many of you out-of-towners have visited our wonderful Times Square electronics stores? And you go in and you look at a camera and you shake your head and you walk out and somebody comes running out into the street after you. Mister, you like this camera? Let me tell you about this camera. This is great camera. What do you want to pay for this camera? Well, there's an internet version of this. You leave a website, abandonment tracker basically follows you out into the street and says, wait a second, why did you leave? Tell us what you didn't like. What can we do for you? These are becoming more and more and more prevalent on the net. They follow you to the next site. They want to see where did you go. You're on Amazon.com, but then you go to eBay? For some reason, Amazon couldn't sell you that product. Whatever. Abandonment tracker. You are tracked even when you think you've navigated away in many cases. And this is abandonment tracker giving their spiel. You know, we checked 50% of the people tell us why they left and so on and so forth. And here's examples with email addresses and the IP address they logged in from, and basically how they were successfully, harassed and browbeated online by abandonment tracker. Now, you are semi-anonymous on the net if you take some steps. Semi-anonymous. You're not really anonymous because you're using the same browser, you're doing the same things. Eventually, you can be, ID'd. But a lot of the things that are being used to index you are now sitting on the server, which is why Google as an ISP is a freakish thing to me. For those of you who don't know about Nebuad, who don't know about Form, these are behavior cataloging products that sit right on the server. It's not a question of you going out and doing something on the web. They're watching everything they send back to your router. All right, I got to pick it up. ClickPrint. ClickPrint is a unique fingerprint of who you are. You all know what cloud computing is. You all know what it tells about you. Okay, Monster.com, you post your resume there. You read somebody else's resume. There are tens of millions of resumes there. People put their entire life history and job history up there, not just on Monster.com. There's a lot of clones of that now. their entire education history, their salary history. Whenever I'm investigating someone, I go to monster.com. Zaba search, outdated, but it still has your entire old address history. Zoom info, ridiculous, but it's good. Every BitTorrent service, every blogging service, every financial, questioning service, everything that you do, more and more and more gets gobbled up. Who links to me on same host? And then you have people who don't like you saying things about you. Gotta talk about this. These two cracked me up. I call them rage sites. The two most ridiculous ones are Don't Date Him Girl and Who's a Rat? Before I continue, is Mr. Lamo in the room? Oh, sorry. Okay. Don't Date Him Girl. This is, read it. How do I turn this on at will? Hello? This boy will use you like no other. He smokes weed all day, every day, and if he doesn't have it, he will freak out. He has issues with anger. And by the way, this is Aaron Carter III, alleged cheater. This is Jonathan John, I love this one, Jonathan John Rainwater. This man, or so-called boy, is such a liar. First he said that he loved me, and we were together for 4 years. And then I catch him in bed with another guy. Devin Pridemore. So not only do we have his history, but Devin has been outed. And by the way, if you're interested, he's 18, white, 5'10", and he lives in McDonough, Georgia. Not that there's another John Ray. Oh, I like this one, the Bad Boyfriend Club. I won't even bother reading this. You get the idea. Who's a rat? This website exists, so if there's an informant, you can put up their picture, their history, and whatnot. Now, does this kind of bother me? Yeah, it does, because a lot of these people are helping prevent crimes, helping catch criminals. Some of them, however, are agent provocateur scumbags, and that's where this comes into use. And here's a sample informant profile. Apparently the only thing they could get was his college photo, but you get the idea. Then there are people who get so pissed off at somebody, they put up a website about him. This is truthaboutgrogan.com. This is a PI who lost his license because he did all sorts of bad, nefarious things. I won't waste your time, but go to truthaboutgrogan.com, and they even have a video of him in a porn movie. And then you have the rip-off report. Somebody didn't treat you right. The business ends up in there. I feel like Jerry Springer with this thing. Now, it was 1 in 10 when I gave this talk last time. In the past 2 years, it's increased from 1 in 10 to 1 in 3 people have their own social networking site or blog or web page. And of course, we can always thank newspapers who are happy to humiliate everybody they can get a picture of. And